Just talking about yoga and the different views that people have about kids practicing yoga, and how to do it and when to do it and where to do it and the things that you need. um, it brings a really important point up about how we approach yoga. So, Connie, you and I practice yoga. I'm a yoga instructor. I also a teacher, and I teach my kids yoga, and we do mindfulness. You teach it with your kids, and you're also a teacher. We're really pro yoga, pro mindfulness. But in how we approach yoga and how we introduce it to our kids has impacted them. So, we go in and we're like, yes, we're gonna do yoga, we're gonna do mindfulness, and it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna have so much fun and we can do it anywhere. And our kids are like, yes, let's do it. Your kids and my students. Um, but for people who, don't necessarily know all these things about yoga, and, they're falling for all these myths that we're in the process of debunking, um, how you approach yoga or how you think about yoga really impacts on how your kids view yoga. So if you're like, oh, we don't really have time, or I didn't bring a yoga mat, so we can't practice, your kids are going to think, oh, I need all these things, and I don't, I don't have time. I don't have time for this. That's the biggest lie we tell ourselves about everything we do. I don't have time. I don't have time for that. And I found myself doing that today. I don't have time for this. And it wasn't even about yoga that I said I didn't have time for. But as soon as I said it out loud to myself, I was like, no, that's a lie. So I finished what I had to do, and then I did yoga, because I was like, that moment where I caught myself saying, no, I don't have time for this. I realized, okay, I need to take a step back and think about time, like in a step-by-step thing. Because I'm like, okay, so I have to do this at 6:30, and then this at 8:00, and it's 2:00 now, so I have 4.5 hours. And you have to really like take that step back and figure it out. And if we say those things to our kids, and that's how they're going to think about yoga and mindfulness, it becomes their inner voice. But if we approach practicing yoga like really excitedly, and we explain to our kids how practicing benefits them, maybe not younger kids, but older kids really like to know what they're doing and why they're doing it. And when you give them real life examples, and show them, then it builds a deeper connection with the practice, and it really helps them to deepen their practice and understand their practice a lot better.
Yeah, certainly. And going back to like the time thing, we make time for what's important. And I hear all the time from moms that they don't have time for this, they don't have time for that. We're so busy, and we wear being busy like a badge of honor. Like it's a competition who's busier.
Yes.
I don't think we're like purposely doing it, but everybody's always busy. Go ask, stand in the middle of the mall and ask 100 moms, how they're doing, and they're tired and they're busy. And so we have to make a conscious effort, like you said, Megan, to not make excuses or not let that be a barrier. And so that's one of the things that we would like to challenge you to, is to incorporate yoga into your day. And so you can start really small with that, because like we've said, it doesn't have to be this big old long, hour process. It doesn't have to be a half hour. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes. It doesn't even have to be 10 minutes.
Right.
All you need is a few minutes, and you can build up from there. So you can start small, start with a couple minutes. And if your kids are younger, that's all they're going to have attention for anyways. But you build up from there. So when we started yoga last year, we did it for, I don't know, a minute or two, and then they were off doing something else, or they were showing me their own yoga poses that they were just making up, which is cute and fine too. But we built up, and so now we're able to do more minutes with me telling them what to do, and me saying, let's breathe in, and starting to get them more aware of their bodies and what they're thinking and stuff like that. I'm asking them, what are you hearing? So that way they're more present in the moment, stuff like that. So the point is it's a process, and depending on how regularly or how consistently you do it and for how long, and your kids and all that will, depends on where you'll get. But we want to challenge you to add yoga into your day, because you will see benefits. And if, doing yoga for a half hour isn't your thing, that's fine. But you want your kids to be more mindful and aware of their surroundings and more compassionate and think of others and be more appreciative and pay more attention and slow down and all those sorts of things. And yoga helps with that. So there are so many benefits to it as a parent that you should definitely give it a try.
Yeah, exactly. You've got nothing to lose by
Mm-mm.
except for maybe 2 minutes every day. But if you're already busy, what's another 2 minutes?
Right. That's true. And honestly, if you did 2 minutes a day for a week, and then you did 3 minutes the next week and 4 minutes the following week, in a month, you're up to 5 minutes a day, and you're going to start to really notice some benefits, because change does take time, and it takes time to, build something new into your routine and to see results from it. And we live in a society where we want like instant gratification. We've got microwave meals where you can get a whole dinner done in 5 minutes. Whereas, 50 years ago, you had to cook that for 50 minutes or whatever. But the point is, the instant gratification, we're not looking things up in an encyclopedia anymore. We don't have to wait to go to the library and do research. We just click that into our phone and, we Google it and there's the answer. So doing yoga and practicing being mindful forces us to slow down and pay more attention and take time for ourselves and relax. But when we are busy, adding something into our routine, into our day, can be hard. So if you start small and you build up, you're going to make the change easier, and you're going to notice a change within yourself and within your kids. And that's what the goal is. And if after a month, you're up to 5, 6, whatever minutes, and it's still not your thing and you're not seeing any results, which I don't see how you wouldn't, but maybe,
Yeah.
then you don't do it, then it's truly not for you. But I don't see how that's possible, because, kids always have something that they're working on. There's growth spurts, there's brain, leaps or whatever it's called. And being more mindful and being more aware really helps with all that at any age, because as a parent, it feels like, we're dealing with this, we finish this, and we have like a little lull, and then we have this task we're working on with our kids, that there's always something going on. We're potty training, our kids having problems making friends at school, math is a big challenge or whatever. So if we're doing, taking the time to reconnect with our kids through yoga and helping them be more aware of themselves and more reflective, it helps in so many ways. Like you'll see an academic improvement and stuff like that, changes that you wouldn't necessarily expect or wouldn't directly correlate to doing yoga and being more mindful.
Another thing that you can do to start a yoga mindfulness practice, like Connie said, start small. You don't need to start, leaps and bounds an hour practice a day. Start really small. But another thing you can do is schedule a time. So your schedule probably changes every day. I'm sure that it does. But in those little tiny time blocks where you don't have anything to do, or the 2 minutes that you have in the time that your kids get home from school before you need to put them in the car for dance class, practice some yoga. Those 2 minutes are going to pass anyway. That time is going to pass anyway. So what are you going to fill it with?
Yeah. Fill it with something useful. Yeah.
Yeah. And scheduling, when we schedule things, when we write things down, we tend to stick to it. We tend to go by that guideline that we've given ourselves. But also when you schedule things, it really helps your mind and body get into that routine. So if you schedule in 5 minutes before bedtime and you start getting into routine, you wash your face and you brush your teeth, or whatever your bedtime routine is, and then you do some yoga, eventually your mind and your body shift and they go, oh, I just brushed my teeth, it's dark outside, so that means I'm going to do yoga now, and then I'm going to feel really relaxed and I'm going to be ready for bed.
Yep. And another thing too with kids is, like Megan said, those 2 minutes between whatever is gonna pass or building it into your routine is like dinner time is a big challenge for many families. So you may not be able to do yoga with your kids during that time, but you can put on a yoga video if you want, depending on the ages of your kids. But you can also do the pose really quickly while you're stirring the pot of spaghetti and be like, okay, let's do whatever. Or once they're old enough and they know the names of the poses, you can call out poses and have them do it. Or just tell them, hey, it's yoga time. I want you to practice some poses. You can have a poster up with pictures. So there's a lot of ways to incorporate yoga because the time's going to pass and nobody wants the hectic, dinner hour chaos that's going on, or whatever the most chaotic time of your day is. So look through your day and see, where can I throw in 2 minutes of yoga and then gradually increase that and just calm our day or use our time more purposefully. And that will be a great way to get it in, because eventually it'll be, okay, I'm starting dinner. Instead of running amok and tearing everything out of all the cabinets, the kids are going to do yoga. And then I'm going to do this with dinner, and the kids are going to do, set the table or whatever. So it'll become a habit, and a good habit and a good routine for you to be into as well.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with yoga and mindfulness becoming a habit is that your kids are going to develop habits anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We all have habits. Some of them are good and some of them are bad, but why not teach the good ones when you get the
Yes.
opportunity to?
Yeah, exactly.